Welcome to my first devlog for Spearhead. I'm going to be covering what I've managed to achieve this month. Going to be doing these videos mostly to keep me motivated and going through and just to share what I've been working on. But if anyone wants to know more, just hit us up in Discord or leave a comment in the video. It's definitely what you see in these videos is not going to be what the final game will look like. Everything is aimed at a prototype at this stage, including UI and everything like that. But I'd still welcome any ideas or feedback suggestions that you might have for the game at any point. Just a brief on what Spearhead is actually going to be all about is it's actually going to be a cooperative multiplayer game where you control a armored battle group. So you'll have a series of platoons of tanks, the support vehicles and staff, and as well as some recon infantry. The task for your battle group will be to break through a front line, try and enable a push for your team through the front line and achieve the objective beyond. So it's going to be an RTS, and it's going to have logistics that you'll need to manage behind you to keep all your tanks and infantry supplied. So when I was originally planning this, I thought, how do I tackle this? I've tackled a few games, and later on I've decided that yep, this is definitely going to be a multiplayer game, and I've tried to add multiplayer in later on, and it's a complete nightmare. So for this game, I decided that multiplayer focus from day one, and I definitely wanted a multiplayer setup to test in straight away. So I went to straight away to planning how the game's going to work, and I decided on this sort of phase setup that I'm going to use, so that the game will go through several phases from menu, lobby, and then the way the game actually will play will have a planning, a staging, an execution, and a debrief phase, so sort of keeping it all military. But you can see there, I just had a quick flow diagram about how I want the menu to work. So that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Every menu's almost the same in the main menu sense. So you can either create, join, or go to the lobby, and then you can launch the game, and then this is where the HUD is created for the actual game, and you start, like I said, that planning phase. And the planning phase for my game will be where, so my idea is to have a very large map at the start, and you'll get to the planning phase, and you'll plan where you want to place your main base, and then that'll be where your logistics come through, and then you'll manage your logistics from there up to your fighting units. So the planning phase is like for you and your teammate or teammates in co-op to plan where you're going to attack through a front line. And the map will be bigger than this. It'll be much larger during the planning phase, and you'll actually choose a smaller location where you want to conduct your attack. And then when you go to the staging phase, which is the next phase, you'll this is where you'll place your units down and attack, like begin to execute the plan that you made. So you'll place your units wherever and you'll only be able to place them in a certain distance from your main base. But like you and your teammate probably said, oh, you take the left or you take the right, and you can set up your units how you need to. Then execution phase is literally what you see. Is just playing the game. That's basically you started playing the game. At the moment, I've just got all the phases written out here, so I know where I am, and I can just click through them like that. But I'll show you that in a sec. So let's do that now. So just to finish off this diagram, this goes through, and then you're back to the main menu after the end phase. But the whole point of this is to have the sessions, the Unreal sessions for proper multiplayer testing, because I've tried testing, and that sessions works with Steam, so I can easily just change the setting and it'll start working with Steam, assuming I have Steam set up. So that'll be good later on, and it's definitely good for testing now, and it's a proper multiplayer setup. So here we are with two clients open. Got the main menu just like the diagram, and so you can create a session, put in a lobby name, I can type. We could. This is all set up to work for Steam, but doesn't do much with the nulls session. So whichever. And then on the other client, we can join. And this just lets me test in multiplayer over and over and get very different results from testing with the sessions compared to testing in the editor. You also can't test with sessions through the editor. You can do like a multiplayer game in there, but not with sessions. So I can join, comes up, finds the other server, and then I've got the player info. So you can choose your faction that you're going to play as. I haven't really set any of them up yet, but got a couple of test ones, and then the ready is all working across between the clients. That's all synced, and when this is Steam, this will actually pick up your Steam name here, and then these placeholder sort of images are just for like game modes that I'm going to have. So one will be where you got to break out of the front line, and the other one's going to be where you got to counter the enemies break out of the front line. And this will be the map, so you'll choose the map here, and only the host will be able to control that stuff. Anyway, once everyone's ready, launch comes up as enabled, and if someone unreadies, it disables like a normal lobby. So we can launch, and this is the preloading that's happening now that took me so long. And we're into the planning phase. So this is where you'll on a large map, you'll choose to where you want to start your location. So say we want to attack through this area here, then we'll place our main logistics base somewhere down here, and then that'll be where you start from, and that's where your logistics will come into the map for the game. And the map will be massive, much bigger than this when in the planning phase where you choose your location, and you'll have some intelligence based on the front line. You can go along, and you and your teammate will be able to go, oh, you know what, this valley over here looks good to attack through, and you'll choose that location, and then you'll sort of be fixed to your area of operation, which will be there, and the large map will unload, and you'll have a narrower map, maybe this size or a little bit larger to 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 conduct your attack in. Once you've placed your base, which I haven't set up yet, but I'll probably do that soon. You can go on to the next phase, which is the staging phase. So this is where you'll have your base, and from a certain area around your base, you'll be able to start deploying your units. So we'll be able to, so this was where we put our base. We can start deploying our units. So at the moment, these are just blocks, but these will be static meshes of whatever you're deploying. So at the moment, I just chose an infantry group, so a recon team. So, yeah, and then and you'll have all your units there. So you'll have you'll have your support vehicles, you'll have your, a couple of platoons, a few platoons of tanks, you'll have your headquarter unit, things like that to deploy. And then once both, so this player on the left, he's deployed all his stuff. I go, yep, I'm ready. And then this goes, oh, hang on, I'm still doing my stuff. And he'll deploy his stuff. And then when he's ready, then the host can now start the game. And when you start the game, you're into the game and you start playing and do whatever. So for selection, we can just left click on someone, we can shift left click to get their group, box select whatever units, pretty standard RTS stuff. You can't, obviously, you can select one other like friendly unit, but you can't, box select or give it orders or anything like that, which is what you expect. Do have the selection UI at the bottom. Can't see it very well, is there? Yep, that will be a work in progress, and I'll probably get some sort of, because it's going to have fixed platoons of people. I'll probably have some sort of platoon display differently when you select a whole team or group, rather than just having a list of units there. So when you're ordering the unit somewhere, I've got just some pathing. So it shows for tanks, it'll show some tank tracks, and you can hold down right click and tell which way you want to face when you get there. And I've managed to get the display a bit better for the terrain. Like, it still cuts through there, but it's a lot better than it was before. And the direction markers, which I'm not really happy with the look of those, but they're definitely above the terrain now. I don't know if you did see any of the preview stuff in the Spearhead private channel, they were clipping into the terrain earlier. The infantry have like little footsteps instead of tracks. Just to show you where they're going. And if you deselect them, it hides what they're doing. So if I give a couple of orders, I don't have group movement in at the moment. I took that out. I'm actually going to work on that. I've set up a whole command system so that when you've got multiple commands, so that movement command is two commands. It's one, move to the point, and two, rotate direction. So I could just send the command to the command system, and it will say, "Hey, I'm moving here," and then it'll generate like a sub command chain, and it'll execute the next chain when it finishes the first chain. So later on, I hope to have like a planning system in, so you can say I wanted to move two platoons forward, I could have one move up and then have the second one move up and then plan where they're going to go next, and then I can just hit the execute button and they'll start executing it like in order, and have waypoints where they'll wait for the other team to catch up. You can synchronize points in the command chain. So that's sort of implemented now just for basic moving. So yeah, all orders that you give to units will go through that command system, and you can also do undo orders. So it it's sort of implemented in the code, but it's not implemented in the game yet. But if I tell a tank to move to there, and I've just told him to move to the position he was in there, I can actually undo this move, and he'll return back to that previous point and rotation. So say that'll be handy for when you're pushing up your tank and he's taken a bit too much fire. You can just abort the move and he'll just return to his previous position. That's the idea behind that. So the other big thing I had was actually steering these tanks. So they actually are not following they're following a navigation path, but they're not like the infantry use the Unreal navigation, and they follow the navigation pretty exact. The tanks actually steer onto the navigation, and it was a big challenge to even get them to brake in at different speeds to stop on the position that you want them to. They would either, like when it's really slow, they wouldn't make it to the point, or when it's really fast, like you do a long distance one, they'd be putting on the brakes, but they'd rip right by the final destination there. So I've got it pretty good now. Yeah, definitely the next thing I want to work on is the reason why I took out the group movement is I want to work on a proper formation movement. I did have group movement working, but I sort of would only do it properly in a straight line. As soon as I implemented a turn, they'd all start just playing dodgem cars and smashing into each other and trying to crisscross just because of the setup that I had. But I'm I'm hoping now that with a proper formation system, I can implement turns. And I actually rewrote the navigation in preparation for that, so that I can modify the path that they have. Before I was just like getting a navigation path from the Unreal system, and then you can see I need to work on the terrain friction there. Bit icy. But the before I was just getting a navigation path, and that was the path that I was steering to, and I couldn't do much else. But now with the paths, I can modify the path how I want to, so I'll be able to implement turns and do whatever else I need to do to make them do formations properly. You can get units to turn in place too. So if I just hold right click on them and change the direction, they'll move in place. So that's all I've got so far. It's been a pretty busy month, but not a heap to show, but that's how it's going to go, I think. But if you've got any feedback or ideas or suggestions on the game thus far, I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching.